Major League Baseball season's coming to a close, so I thought it would be a good time to take a look back and see who some of the best bounce back / comeback players were for the 2024 MLB season. In order to be considered a bounce back or comeback player, you have to do one of the two following things. One, you have to come back. That implies you were good, had some sort of injury or downfall, and came back to being a good player, or you were someone who had a down season last year and bounced back and improved upon it this year. Don't forget to drop a like on the video if you enjoy it, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the baseball content coming at you, and get in the comment section down below. Are there any players I forgot to include in today's video? Without further ado, let's get going into these comeback players. First up in today's video, we have to talk about the amazing bounce back season that Vlad Guerrero Jr. has had for the Toronto Blue Jays. Vladdy has always been a good player. We saw him break out in 2021 where he finished second in MVP voting, 48 home runs, and OPS over 1,000. But the last couple seasons with the Blue Jays have been, for what is lack of a better term, just really disappointing, and overall not the level you expect from Vlad Jr. OPS plus, the OPS, everything had dropped year to year. But in 2024, Vlad Guerrero Jr. has returned to that top hitter form, and in 154 games this year thus far, Vlad Jr. is putting up some crazy good numbers: 30 homers, 42 doubles, 100 RBIs, with a 324 average, a 397 on base, 548 slugging, and a 946 OPS for an OPS plus at 167, which ties his career high. Those are career highs in batting average, second best ever in on base, second best ever in slugging. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is so back. He's playing so much better across the board. He is returning to that form that makes him one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball. And for the Toronto Blue Jays, who are going to have a decision soon whether or not to pay Vlad Jr. some big money, since he is going into the last season of his contract next year, he's making it a heck of a lot easier to give him the bag and make him a lifetime Blue Jay. Vladdy Jr. is so back. A little bit more of a under-the-radar comeback, bounce-back player, that's going to be Kirby Yates of the Texas Rangers. Now, I will say this, he had a pretty good year in 2023 for the Atlanta Braves, 60 innings, 3.28 ERA, but the FIP really wasn't that good actually, a 4.63, telling us that maybe he wasn't completely back yet. And that was the case, because this year in 2024, Kirby Yates is totally back to that top closer in baseball form that we saw in 2019 with the Padres. This season for the Texas Rangers, Kirby Yates in 59 2/3 innings has a 1.21 ERA, 31 saves on the year, a whip that is disgustingly low, the lowest of his entire career at .838. That is lower than his 2019 season where he finished 9th in the Cy Young Award voting, a 2.46 FIP, a 3.26 ERA plus. He's striking out 36.5% of the batters he's facing, the second highest mark of his career over a substantial amount of time. While he is walking a few more, up to 11%, he's been absolutely dominant for the Rangers. They haven't had a great season, but it has nothing to do with Kirby Yates. He's been money closing out games. It's funny, if they had Kirby Yates last year, they win the World Series significantly easier. This year, they finally have a closer and a good bullpen. The rest of the team can't perform. Kirby Yates, totally back. This next player legitimately is having a comeback season. This one has been huge not only for the player, but for the team he's on. As you can tell, that's Luis Severino of the New York Mets. Severino basically hasn't been the same pitcher since the 2018 season, where he finished top 10 in the Cy Young voting for the second straight year in a row. He was 24 years old. The world was his oyster. He was going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. But due to injuries, Luis Severino just really had never bounced back since that 2018 season. This year, though, with the New York Mets in 30 starts, Luis Severino has a 3.79 ERA in 178 innings. He's thrown a complete game shutout this year. He's made 30 starts, 11-6 record, a whip at 1.225, which is a huge improvement from what we've seen the last couple years, where there was a legitimate question whether Luis Severino would even be a starter for the full season. He's been dominant for the Mets. The FIP is at 4.2. Again, these numbers aren't jump off the page crazy, but for a guy who since 2019 had thrown a total of 209 innings to a 4.47 ERA, to now be getting close to 190 innings on the season with a sub-4 ERA, pitching back in New York on a team that's trying to make the postseason. He's a big reason why, especially in a contract year. Luis Severino is going to get paid. The sweeper's been great. The fastball's got life. He's totally back. Next up, we have Fernando Tatis Jr., who might not make as much sense as some of these other guys as a comeback, bounce back player, but I think everyone kind of forgot that 2023 was a super forgettable season for a guy who was one of the 5 best players in Major League Baseball the first few years of his career. Of course, this was coming back from an injury and a PED suspension. Tatis just clearly was not as sharp as he had hoped. 2023, 25 homers, 33 doubles, stole 29 bases. The numbers were great, but in terms of his slash line, a 257 average with a 322 on base, 449 slugging, and a 770 OPS for an OPS plus at 110 were easily the worst of his career. But this season, while he hasn't played a full year, only 97 games, in those 97, 20 homers, 20 doubles, 10 stolen bases, and a 282 average with a 345 on base, 499 slugging, and an 844 OPS for an OPS plus at 133. Not only that, but Tatis has been a big reason why the Padres have been crazy hot in the second half. Since he came back from his injury in September, he has 6 homers, 6 doubles, 12 RBIs, and an OPS at 939. He's literally been on fire for the San Diego Padres team, plays great defense out in the outfield. Tatis is back to his top player form, no doubt. Keeping it in the National League West, let's talk about Eugenio Suarez, third baseman for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, Suarez's full year numbers might not make you think it's as big of a bounce back or comeback as I'm making it out to be, but when I tell you what he's done in the second half, that's where you're going to really open your eyes, because Suarez used to be a perennial power hitter in baseball. Go back to 2019, 49 homers on the season, finished top 15 in MVP voting. He was great for the Reds. He's kind of bounced around a little bit, had one really good year in Seattle back in 2022, where he finished with an OPS plus at 129 and 31 homers, but 2023, he just was not a very good player, completely league average, a 103 OPS plus, and really wasn't hitting for as much power as we see in the past, only 22 home runs. But this year with Arizona, in 153 games thus far, 29 homers, 28 doubles, 98 RBIs, hitting 255 with a 319 on base, 471 slugging for a 790 OPS plus at 117, basically having the best season of his career since the 2019 season, arguably that 2022 in Seattle. But what happens when you look at his second half stats is going to be really eye-opening for you, because after a bad first half where he finished with a 668 OPS, Eugenio Suarez in 60 games has 19 homers, 14 doubles, 50 RBIs, a 310 average, 344 on base, 616 slugging, and a 960 OPS. That's a bounce back. That's a comeback. Eugenio Suarez is totally back. Next up, we have Chris Sale, who is undoubtedly going to win the comeback player of the year in Major League Baseball. Sale hasn't been able to stay healthy again since the 2019 season. Since that season concluded, he's only thrown 151 innings. And of course, in his first season with the Atlanta Braves, he's fully healthy and he is the best pitcher in baseball. He's going to win the pitching triple crown, which is pretty insane to say for a guy who, again, had thrown less innings the last 4 years combined than he has this current season. Chris Sale is currently 18-3 with a Major League best 2.38 ERA, striking out the most batters in the league at 225 in 177 and 2/3 innings thus far. He has a Major League best ERA plus at 175, FIP at 2.09, best K per 9, best home runs per 9. He was an all-star. Again, he's going to win the Cy Young. He's been the best pitcher in baseball this year. The K rate's at 32.1%, again, a career high since that 2019 season. 5.6% walk rate is disgustingly low. He was quite literally carrying the Braves. I don't know where this team is without Chris Sale being as dominant as he has. And that contract that he signed with the Braves is looking like one of the better contracts we're going to see over the next couple years in Major League Baseball, because as long as the stick man, Chris Sale, is healthy, he has the ability to be one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. Hands down, it's not even a debate. He's finally healthy again. He's dominant, back to his old ways. Chris Sale is not just a comeback player in today's video, he is the comeback player of the year. This next player is more of a bounce back rather than comeback. That's going to be Willy Adames of the Milwaukee Brewers. Adames had really great seasons in Milwaukee ever since he made that move from Tampa over. He had been a really good player, but in 2023, something was just off with Adames. While he still had some power, all the numbers across the board dropped, including his defense. He just overall wasn't really as good of a player as he had been in the past. 94 OPS plus was the lowest of his entire career, which is kind of crazy. But of course, in a contract year for the Milwaukee Brewers, Adames at 28 years old has had a career season. Career highs in home runs at 32, career highs in doubles right now at 32, a career high in RBIs at 110, and a career high in stolen bases at 19. Also, the most hits he's ever had in his career, the most games he's ever played. Willy Adames is doing a lot. 250 average, 330 on base, 468 slugging for a 798 OPS plus at 119. That's a huge improvement from the year prior. The K rate is actually the lowest of his entire career at 25.8%, and he's walking over 10% of the time, which is amazing to see from Willy. Similarly to the previously mentioned Eugenio Suarez, his second half numbers are crazy. 863 OPS in the second half, 17 homers in 58 games. He's put the Brewers team on his back, led them to a National League Central crown. His down season was one of the reasons why I didn't think they were going to be competitive this year. But Adames and a lot of people on the Brewers proved me wrong. I'm a dumb idiot. Definitely a great year for Adames and a bounce back for sure. Heading back to the West Coast to talk about a bounce back player, that's going to be Dylan Cease of the San Diego Padres. I'm sure most of it just has to do with getting out of the White Sox organization. Poorly run organization, bad franchise, bad culture. You don't want to be there. He comes to San Diego, and Dylan Cease has returned to one of the top pitchers in baseball again. This season, 32 starts, 184 innings, has a complete game shutout, threw a no-hitter this year, and the numbers are pretty ridiculous after having a 4.58 ERA last year and looking like just not the same guy. 3.42 ERA this season, a whip at 1.052, which is the biggest improvement. He's normally a guy who had a high whip. That's super low for his career, and it shows in all his other numbers. A FIP at 3.09, an ERA plus at 120. And when you look at the K rate and the walk rate, a career low walk rate, 8.4%, K rate hovering right around 30. The Padres pitching was a huge question mark coming into this season. They grabbed Cease after getting rid of Soto, making all these moves, and he's been one of the better pickups this offseason. Cease has been incredible. Penultimate player in today's video, we have to go back to the American League East to talk about Tyler O'Neill. Tyler O'Neill was basically a dude who was quote-unquote cut by the St. Louis Cardinals. I know they traded him to the Red Sox, but they traded him for kind of nothing. Similarly to Randy Arozarena, Adolis Garcia, Lane Thomas, Cardinals. I don't know. Anybody who ever gets cut from the Cardinals that played the outfield immediately got better. O'Neill really hasn't been a good player since 2021, where he was one of the best, finishing 8th in the MVP voting in the National League and winning a Gold Glove. This year with the Red Sox, the numbers are pretty shocking. In 110 games, 31 homers, 18 doubles, 61 RBIs, hitting 243 with a 338 on base, 517 slugging for an OPS at 855 and an OPS plus at 133. That is a 40-point improvement on what he did last season. He's just completely back to the player he once was in St. Louis, a guy who could hit for power, pretty good outfielder, physical specimen. As a guy who's going to be a free agent this upcoming offseason, expect some teams to be aggressive with a guy like Tyler O'Neill after having a career year. Before we get going into this last player, honorable mention Garrett Crochet coming back from injury, even though he did last season. He's having a phenomenal year. Just felt weird since technically last year he came back to call him a comeback this season, but wanted to give him an honorable mention. But as for the last player, we have to talk about Jack Flaherty, another former St. Louis Cardinal, leaving that organization instantly getting better. Now, I know his numbers weren't great with the Baltimore Orioles, but they unlocked some stuff that was just kind of lacking from his game after just kind of getting smacked around in St. Louis, not having really the best of health either. Since his 2019 season where he broke out onto the scene and finished 4th in the Cy Young, he's not been very good or healthy, but this year is completely different. He's made 27 starts this year between the Tigers and the Dodgers, 157 innings, the most since that 2019 season, a 3.1 ERA, a whip at 1.057, disgusting, an ERA plus at 131, a FIP at 3.41, and the biggest thing is the stuff is completely back. For a while, Jack Flaherty lacked that oomph on that fastball. The breaking balls were not moving as much. They weren't as nasty. He was just an okay pitcher living on the hype from 2019. But now, at 28, 29 years of age, going into another free agency year, Jack Flaherty is about to get paid with these numbers. Even looking at the K to walk ratio, 30% K rate, 5.6% walk rate, one of the best in the league. Jack Flaherty's done a complete 180 back to where he once was, looking like one of the top pitchers in Major League Baseball again. So there they are, the 10 players I think had the best bounce back / comeback seasons in the 2024 MLB season. Let me know who you think I snubbed down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you have to say, as well as don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the content coming at you. Follow me on all my social media. Giraffe Neck Mark links are in the description as always, and that's where I'll wrap it up. You guys know the drill from here on out. YouTube recommends you watch this video. This is my most recent upload. Click through those if you have not yet seen them. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you all on the next video. Bye.